Hello and welcome back to another episode of AZ Update. I'm Anthony Bartolo, joined today by producer Pierre. Producer Pierre, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Yes, it is Good Friday, and yes, it is a holiday. But you know what? We do this show out of the love of doing the show, and we actually have a lot of fun doing it. So we figured, hey, everybody's going to be home. People will be watching. Let's jump on the show. What do you think, Pierre?
Yeah, I was just going to ask you how's your day off, but
I still consider this a day off. I'll probably go, watch a couple TV shows after this, and I got an oil change to do on the truck, so still going to be a day off for me. Pierre, you've been really busy. I know you've just filmed a new segment. Do you want to talk about it a little bit?
Yes. I just had an interview with Dean Wells, the principal PM manager for Azure Auto Manage. That's cool. It went a lot better than I expected in terms of I had planned some demos and some stuff, and we ended up not doing none of that because the conversation was so engaging. And I have actually just for your enticement, for a little taste, I figured I'd show you this.
Imminently.
Preview.
But the other stuff, and even this one, the timeline is still up in the air. We don't know when yet. We're not quite done with VM best practices.
This is when I press the pause button next to your head and insert the disclaimer.
Where is it? There it is.
Yeah, it's right there. The pause button there. And
that's the light switch, folks. But it does make a pause button, doesn't it?
Nice. You paused.
The opinions expressed in this podcast may not be reflected by Microsoft Corporation.
Resume. Okay.
Okay. No, the reason I did that is I wanted to insert that disclaimer is because he was talking about we have a wonderful discussion not only on the product itself and what's new and when the preview is at and what they're working on. But he gave us a ton of information about what's on the roadmap, what's being prototyped, what's beyond the roadmap, like stuff that's not even on the roadmap now that they're thinking about doing. So it's going to be a really cool interview, and I believe it's going to be published next Tuesday on the 6th. So
and see, that's why I love when we do stuff like this, because you're sharing Dean's passion for what he does, right? And it's not just, feeds and speeds about here's all the things you need to know about X. There's the human element behind everything, which is really cool. And that's, what we get to do when we do stuff like this, or even doing the show, AZ Update. We can express, our feelings behind, hey, this is really cool what's been implemented, what we're doing. The pause button is so cool to have that. Is Dean based out of the UK? Is he in Seattle?
No, he was in Seattle. He's moved to Florida right now. So
okay.
He was telling me that they just finished his March break, so he visited Universal, Walt Disney, and NASA, I think, in 1 week. So he was happy to come back to work.
That's a lot. I can't wait to be able to go to Universal, and again, like we used to do when we used to go for Ignite, to get to go on the roller coasters. I don't think you've never joined me on the roller coasters though.
No, I'm not I do roller coasters, but it's not my it's your thing. It's not my thing as much. I don't get scared. I don't it doesn't make me ill or anything. It just I'm just looking forward to get out of the house.
Yeah, don't remind me. If you're based in Canada, specifically in Toronto, they announced our third lockdown, which we're currently in right now. So I honestly don't know the difference, because it's like everything has still been, being very cautious, wearing my mask, washing my hands, going to the grocery store, keeping my distance, and still, following all that. It's interesting that we're in our third lockdown. We do see our friends south of the border in the U.S. getting vaccinated. We're still waiting for that to roll out here in Toronto. It's coming. It's happening. It's a little bit slow, and they're trying to get everything together. I get it. This is not an easy thing. I'm ready. Let's get going with this whole thing. I too have been busy. So I just finished doing a learning path with the Azure Defender team. And I know I talk a lot about IoT on the show, but there's a great opportunity for IT professionals in respect to management and security of the IoT rollouts that are happening amidst these organizations. With the pandemic going on, there's a lot of need for capturing of information outside of the four walls that you're trapped in. And so, IoT has been deployed even more steadily through the pandemic in capturing of information in the outside world to ensure that we have all the necessary information for whatever your desired outcome is. I've been actually saying that IoT has been the new hybrid implementation for on-premises architecture and applications, feeding information to the cloud and on-premises as well. So really quickly, Pierre, if you can flip the screen just to share, it actually just went live yesterday, which is the Microsoft Azure Defender for IoT full-on learning path. This is really cool because I actually get to work with James McCabe, who is a senior black belt for Azure Defender, to specifically talk about the addressment of IoT, the understanding between IoT and OT. So information of things and of things, with one captures information, one does automation, which is really cool. It's something where understanding where the attack vectors can lie, what you need to look for, what you need to address, and how to button up your organization when you have that deployment of IoT to make sure that it all feeds into a single pane of glass to have an understanding or a viewpoint of how your infrastructure is actually running out in the wild, which is really cool.
That's really cool. I'm gonna have to catch that one.
So the link to this is also provided in the blog post for today on itopstalk.com. So if you want to check it out, and if you have any comments, let us know. Love to add on anything. Actually, sorry, Pierre has a new email for comments as well. I just saw that flash up on the screen. So Pierre will share that out again. If adding comments onto the board is not your thing and you want to send us an email, we've made that available as well. So there it is there, itopstalk-feedback@microsoft.com, which is being monitored by us as well, which is really cool. Producer Pierre, should we get into the news?
I think we should.
All right, so you're up first.
I am. Okay, let me switch to the right scene here because still have my producing segment. So first is the general availability of networking for Key Vault references on Windows and app services. So it's been possible for a long time for workloads that they're deployed on app service environments to have access to network restricted Key Vaults. And I've always been a big fan of Key Vault. Anything that allows IT pros and operations folks and developers for that matter, to keep credentials out of code is, for me, really, really important. So now, if you've got a workload on app service environment, you can now have that workload access a Key Vault through let's say, like a virtual network service endpoint, meaning it doesn't have to go back out to the internet and back into your Key Vault. It's restricted to a non-internet routed network. So it makes a big difference on that. So your resources can be integrated securely with your Key Vault and pull all of the credentials out of your code. Also, in that same release, we now have Key Vault references, which means that the app can use a managed identity. So the app itself becomes a managed identity and can resolve the secrets from the Azure Vault and store them in environment variables, which means that your app can refer to them at any time, but they're never written down, they're never stored. So when the app is restarted or stopped, those references go away. So this allows teams to very easily move secrets into a management plane versus a code plane, and makes your application, your workload, your environment more secure. So, Anthony, what do you think?
This is big, right? Like, I remember back in the day when developers were writing code and actually putting the password hash right in the code. And then somebody who was smart enough would just go through and decipher the code itself and find the password hash and then start attacking systems with it, right?
Yep.
The whole aspect of Key Vault, it stops that. It disallows this from happening. I really love making the apps as part of the identity piece. I think that's a really crucial part, because then the app becomes free flowing in that it can run on any device or in any instance, but still have the security vector in play in terms of the authorization to gain access to the data without leaking its code to whoever's trying to use it to do something nefarious with it. It's something where we're strengthening out our security vector for applications to gain access to information, regardless of where it resides, but doing so in a mindful way so it doesn't hinder those that are using the application from being stopped to get the info.
And the one thing you mentioned, the identity part, which I agree is really important. What I do like the best about this part is that because it becomes an identity, you can now assign granular rights to, so that application is only allowed to read secrets from the vault, but not allowed to store or modify the ones that are there. So if the app gets compromised in any way, it's not going to go and like change your password so that other app will be compromised as well. So there's that layer of identity, granularity of RBAC, so resource-based access control, and also pulling the credentials out of the code. Also, I forgot to mention that that also applies to Azure Functions. So if you're writing Azure Functions, whether it's in PowerShell or in any other language, you can also use those Azure Functions and access that key vault through that service, that network service endpoint. So really important. And if you're got anything to do with security and supporting workloads that require access to secrets, check it out.
So next up in the news, Alex Simons is back with a net new announcement this week. Public preview of ADFS, so Active Directory Federated Services sign-ins on Azure AD reporting. This is a big one for us because, in tying into the previous announcement you just talked about, now you have this ability to have a single pane of glass to go forth and gain access to the, what federated services are actually logging in to your infrastructure, and having that hybrid view of the solutions that are logging in from, again, that single pane of glass. The advantage of this is that you can actually take this solution and tie it into a SIEM like Azure Sentinel and do analysis on the logs of who's connecting where, and provide that as, additional tools in hunting attacks, right? What application, what federated service is trying to gain access to what resource at certain intervals that is leaking out said information. Something like a SIEM application like Sentinel can go through and do the analysis on, and then gain a better understanding of what is the attack pattern or travel through that an attack is trying to have inside of your architecture to gain access to your information. As you can see, it provides you a full-on visual representation of the login sequence from that federated service into your infrastructure, into your data, and what they're trying to access it and what times, and even from where around the world is this even occurring. So you can see if an application shouldn't be running in another part of the world, why is the access trying to come from that location? Pierre, thoughts?
I love it. I'm always puzzled because I've talked to some customers over the years, and they collect logs out the wazoo, and they collect the logs from the firewall, they collect the logs from their AD, they collect all of the audit logs, but they don't really have any process or any tools to really analyze those logs. It almost reminds me of my early days in IT, like my first job, where on Monday morning I'd have to go in the data center and log into server 1 and check the event viewer for anything that was like a red X. After like the first 100 lines, your brain's not made to process that. So you need a tool to analyze those logs and actually show you that things are happening. And I find that Azure Defender and those SEM tools to analyze that are crucial for anybody, that especially if you're running into a distributed environment. So if you're not like all in one location, you've got logs from firewall over here, you got logs from an application over here, you got logs from AD and Azure AD. How do you make sense of all those and expose where you've got things that are coming up. So very, very important.
And that's the thing, right? Using a SIEM like Azure Sentinel or other SIEMs that are out there as well, of course, taking all these logs into consideration, it's like sleuthing tools that you can go through and have a, you're building out a story of how this attack is occurring, as opposed to, like you said before, pull out this log, do the analysis. There's no, how you try to find the correlation has to be all done manually. A good friend to our show, regular IT guy, has joined and says, "I love me some logs." We have to behave now. The boss is watching us. So, and that's the thing. Back in his day, he would have to manually go through the logs one by one. But using a SIEM now, getting all that information, you can really sleuth out, hey, this is the attack that could occur amidst our organization that we need to address and button up.
Yeah, and I find that security professional also not necessarily. I don't want to generalize. I have been exposed to some of them that are more worried about the attack itself and not finding out how the attack got in. Because if you stop the attack and you secure your environment, that's great, like 100%. But if you don't know how, like what the flow of the attack was, where they got in, and you don't know where your vulnerability was, where that allowed that code to actually come into your environment, and that's what like Defender, the tools like that will reveal is where is your weakest link, and you can go and address that. Anyway.
Andrew makes mention that he likes the dashboard on Sentinel because it provides an overview and you can drill down. So you have all this information coming in from the logs. And great point, Andrew. I can actually drill down into the logs to pinpoint the specific attack point in terms of what's going on based on the information provided by the logs. Let's continue on. Next up is Azure Cost Management.
Azure Cost Management. Yes. Azure Cost Management. Really, it's a series of additional capabilities that have been added to Azure Cost Management this month. One that to me jumps out really is to giving you tools to prevent exceeding your budget with forecasted alert or forecasted cost alerts, for example. So if you've set a budget and it starts, you start your month and it keep track of your month. And because of the algorithm, it forecasts that you are going to, at the end of the month, be over your budget. You get an alert then, as opposed to get an alert after you've busted your budget. So it allows you to go in and make adjustments, or make adjustment either to your budget because maybe you underestimated what you were going to use, or you over-provisioned your environment and you're using more than you should. So those tools are very important. Also, another favorite of mine is now you have new views for your subscription. So you can actually see the cost if you're managing a number of subscription. And in my case, I go to my Azure portal, and I go to subscription because of all of the tests and sandbox environments I've got. I've got about like 40 of them that are listed. And now with this new view, you can actually have a cost analysis view per subscription and even drill down per resource group. So a resource group, as we all know, is basically just a logical container that contains everything that shares the same application lifecycle. It's just a logical container. Other than that, it really doesn't do that much. But if your application is all inside the resource group, whether it's the virtual machine, the app service, the database, the networking, everything that's in there, you can actually view that resource group as a specific cost management view. Then you end up with a kind of top-down view of what the entire application is costing you. Other new functionality is the cost management labs. So with the cost management lab, it's a way for you to get sneak peeks of basically what we've got in I was going to say beta, but in preview. That are not quite released yet, but it is available in the cost management lab, so you can play with it. You can give us feedback or give feedback to the product group and understand how to use the services better for your environment. Some of these enhancement into the cost management lab is you can create up to 100 different views per scope. So if you've got multiple scopes in your environment, so management groups or subscriptions, or You can have 100 different views per scope. Also, if you go into one and you're doing some stuff and then you go away and you come back, it'll actually remember the last scope that you used, which I'm really lazy when it comes to that. And I love the fact that when I have a view set up, because I spend a lot of time in terms of I order it like this and I group it by type, and so I got my own way of looking at things, and I know we all do. And now you go to another page, you do something else, and you come back, and that view is gone. Now it'll actually remember the last used scope, and not necessarily all of the views and tweaks that you've done, but at least you're in the same scope.
Right.
And of course, they've streamlined the cost management menu, which is always a good thing.
Rick actually tells me all the time, why do I have all these tabs open on my browser? And it's for that purpose, right? I've set up this specific report that's capturing information for me. If I lose that tab, it's gone. I love the fact that you can now. Oh, he's shaking his finger. No, why?
No. Okay, there's keeping tabs open, and then there's you, which is excessive. I have seen your desktop. I think you've got like 120 tabs open.
Only 110, not 120, and I put extra RAM to deal with that.
And you're wondering why your machine is slow.
So I love the fact that you have that ability to save the view. I love the fact that you have the ability to assign the reporting to business decision makers who sometimes don't see what's going on in the midst of the organization, and when there's a cost involved. The whole purpose of IT Pro getting out of the cost center and into the investment center at an organization means a free flowing of information. And so this is a great catalyst to share. This is the expense of what's going on. You can assign this to business managers for each department based on their applications if you wanted to, for their reporting to include in their budget. So there's no guesswork in terms of everything going on. It's just the transparency of information in terms of cloud spend that's happening.
Yeah, and another shameless plug, the Dean interview with Azure Auto Manage as a great segment on right-sizing your environment. So next Tuesday, April 6th. Stay tuned.
Don't miss it. All right, let's continue on in the news. This one's an interesting one. What's new for Microsoft Teams? Always a hot topic with IT professionals. A lot of new functionality. And, you know, Pierre, being at Microsoft, we're spoiled because we get preview to a lot of things already. The PowerPoint Live is really cool that you have it embedded inside of Teams as opposed to loading up the PowerPoint client to run the presentation. Live
or
reactions.
Sharing your entire desktop just to show a PowerPoint.
Yeah. Yes. And then the live reactions of the thumbs up and the heart and the whole bit, which is really cool. The 20,000 person view for broadcasts. And it's another, possibility for us to even look at in terms of doing the show on that on Teams, maybe in the future. But what I wanted to center in on was the management capabilities that have been announced for IT professionals and your governance of Teams. This is the thing. Teams has been huge for a lot of organizations in terms of the pandemic and making sure that people stay connected. So here is something where you're specifically targeting from an IT professional perspective, your management capabilities, restricting Windows and Mac managed device sign-ins to specific tenants. How important is this, right? I don't want device X to connect in. I want to make sure that you're connecting in via your secured laptop or secured tablet as opposed to via your phone. I get it. Us working from home means that sometimes you have to run out and do an errand and you want to try to take a phone call from that or a Teams meeting from that instance. I've done a lot from my truck hundreds of times, but sometimes information is too sensitive to have out there in the world, and you don't know who's looking over your shoulder. So having this type of capability was really cool. There was the MVP summit this week as well. The simple periodic review for guest users was a great one that was showcased in regards to all the guest users that were coming in for MVP Summit to gain access to sensitive presentations that were being delivered from Teams, and then have an analysis to ensure that, hey, everybody who is here is who they said they were, and you can review that in terms of the documentation and the authentication credentials put forth, which was really cool.
I've never seen the use of the word redacted as much on Twitter as this week when all the MVPs were on. Oh, I'm so glad I heard about redacted.
Exactly. But it's the thing, though. I love when the MVPs are here. Well, in Redmond when they have the MVP summit, and it was great just to even have everybody online and having open discussions with everybody, just because they bring new ideas to the table. Right? They're out talking with organizations, watching implementations occur, or hands-on with a lot of the implementations, and then they come back to us and share the feedback. Hey, this doesn't work. This is, this needs to be changed. This was awesome. Should do more of this. And so them participating is important to Microsoft. And, with the information that Microsoft shares, we have to be very careful. And this is one of the tools that are being used for this.
Yep. Actually, one of the on Facebook, there's been a message that somebody put in a link to a recap of Microsoft's best announcement at MVP Summit Day. I'm not sure if this is kosher. I'll have to go see it before
we check it
out. Anyway, we've got 4 minutes left, so let's move on.
Let's move on to the events that are happening. So our good friends Sarah Lean and Thomas Maurer are coming up with a Azure Landing Zone Q&A. It's happening next week on April the 7th. It's going to be a live stream on the IT Ops Talk YouTube channel. It's going to be really cool because they're going to answer your questions live that are coming in. So don't wait. Make sure you go to the YouTube channel now, and you can actually start asking your questions in the comments below. Or if you want to jump into the live stream, you can do so as well. Pierre, I know you're excited for this one as well. I think you and I are helping on the back end and answering the questions. Also, as you know, every day there is Hello World. Hello World is that new daily show that talks about the people around the services that are being deployed at Microsoft for other organizations to take advantage of. And it's talking about real world implementations of those services. So catch this every day at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Patch and Switch is on the show today. And, hello to producer Steve, a.k.a. Jared Shockley, and regular IT guy, a.k.a. Rick Claus, who are on the chat room. And a quick hello to Andrew McCollum and to Akos Batafori. I hope I didn't say your name wrong, who are in the chat room today as well. The show, Patch and Switch, on today. It's on at noon Eastern Standard Time. Producer Pierre and I are always lurking around in the chat room as well. So they're going to be on there as well.
And today, Rick can't call us out online for not being at work because today we're supposed to be off. We're doing this out of the goodness of our hearts.
So wait. So AZ Update is not work, but Patch and Switch, when we attend, is work, right?
No, I think it's the other way around.
I'm not sure about that.
All right, move on.
All right, yep. Move on. We got 3 minutes. Okay, 2 minutes. Microsoft Learn, Module of the Week. Always important to have this. We love this because we all love to learn. Implement and manage hybrid identity. Soup to nuts. All the functionality around identity management available in bite-sized Learn modules with hands-on labs, all completely free. There is no Azure spend when you work on the hands-on labs in this type of implementation on the sandbox technology that Microsoft Learn provides. Really cool. Do check it out. It's on the IT Ops Talk blog post for the link to get to this. Producer Pierre, the show went by too quickly today. It's been a lot of fun. If people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Get a hold of me is at Wired Canuck right here.
And if you want to get a hold of me for some reason, you can also find me at Wireless Life on Twitter. Producer Pierre, thank you for being on the show today.
Or at the bottom of the leaderboard on Call of Duty.
Wow. My name is not Rick Claus. It's Anthony Bartolo. And I've been numerous times.
I forget sometimes.
All right. Everybody, have a great weekend and have a great long weekend if you have the holiday Friday and holiday Monday off. And we'll see you all next week on AZ Update.
Stay safe.